The hosts of BracketALlogy are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
So I think that this is another opportunity for me to become the heel of this podcast. I would like to hear first, because tomorrow's Thanksgiving.
That is true.
So what is your favorite Thanksgiving side?
Oh, God, yeah, you and food opinions do not go hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm almost scared to ask what yours is, but I can tell you mine right off the dome.
That's good, because that's what I asked, was what yours is.
It's not even remotely close. Stuffing is the best Thanksgiving side.
Stale bread?
Hold on.
Oh, my God.
Hold on.
You are
now,
heathen.
are you talking legit stuffing, like from the turkey's ass stuffing, or does it not need to be the full?
Or are you talking dressing, which is stovetop?
Look, dressing and stuffing are both delicious, regardless of how it's prepared, right? We have two things of stuffing that we are going to do both ways. Stuffing is the best. Put a little gravy on there. Nom, 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 nom.
I do like stuffing. I like stuffing quite a bit. Or dressing or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know that I would put it as my top, and I don't like gravy. So that just like I like the flavor of stuffing. Scott, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side?
I mean, it kind of has an unfair advantage because
it's not specific to Thanksgiving. Because
it's my favorite. It's like my favorite food of all time. It's macaroni and cheese. You know it. I love that sound. It's macaroni and cheese.
Uncomfortable.
So macaroni.
Which, wildly enough, I'm also realizing I'm not making for Thanksgiving this year.
Okay,
so I might have to change that. Oh. But yeah.
Ooh, I don't think we are either.
Mac and cheese has never been a Thanksgiving side for me. Like growing up, it just wasn't something that we did for Thanksgiving. Like I like mac and cheese. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I will say it's for me. I guess it's maybe more of a Christmas dinner side because that's more ham focused. Whereas this, I mean, but again, like I could also say mashed potatoes are going to be right up there, but that's not that Thanksgiving specific either. I love mashed potatoes any time of day. I just made some 2 nights ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to throw mashed potatoes out there because I love mashed potatoes. I like especially cheesy mashed potatoes. I don't need any gravy, just nice creamy, Well,
I've got some good news for you. I have a block of cheddar in my fridge right now.
Do you guys enjoy chunky mashed potatoes?
They can be chunky. That's okay. As long as the chunks are still cooked thoroughly.
What about mashed potatoes that have little bits of the skin of the potato still inside?
I'm okay with that as well. Yeah. As long as the right potato was used. If it's a red or like an Idaho Golden, yes. If they use traditional russet, then no. You fucked up.
Yeah, you don't really need like the skin on the russet potatoes, but red potatoes, the skin adds to the flavor of red potatoes for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised at how Matt, I was expecting you to say
I didn't.
Weird ass.
Hold on, I didn't.
Thing.
Hold on.
Yeah, he hasn't answered yet.
Oh, okay.
I didn't choose mashed potatoes as my favorite. I just had to bring it up because I love mashed potatoes. My favorite side for Thanksgiving, this has been something that I have eaten at every Thanksgiving that my parents made throughout my life. We would go over to my aunt's house. We would do it at our place, and it is green Jell-O.
Oh God!
It is lime Jell-O with shredded carrots and cabbage in it, and you let it set the night before, and it gets that like jello-iness, but then you eat that with like right next to the mashed potatoes and the stuffing on either side.
No, you don't.
You just get a little bit of that lime kind of going through between them.
Maybe the creatures that your planet like inhabit your planet do that, but humans here on Earth do not.
Yeah, what is Thanksgiving called on your planet?
Hey, my planet is your planet. Okay, now here's the follow-up question.
You're one of those ocean aliens, aren't you?
I can't. No, I almost died swimming. I can't be an under the water.
He's one of the
person.
lizard people from under DIA.
That's it.
I fucking wish. That
explains the love of cabbage and carrot.
Yeah, see, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the trick he does with his tongue too.
Scott, you're the only one that knows about that. Now, the follow-up question to this is, if you could make any other food that's not traditionally like a Thanksgiving side into a Thanksgiving side, like what would you, if you had to bring like an unconventional Thanksgiving side to a Thanksgiving, what would it be?
Biscuits and gravy.
Ooh, that's a good answer.
That's actually a really good answer.
That's a really good answer.
I'm quick with it because biscuits and gravy are a love language to me.
Dan would bring biscuits and gravy to a wedding if he could.
Yes.
A funeral.
Damn, that is a good answer.
Easter
if we
Sunday.
had more money when I got married, we would have had a biscuit and gravy bar.
A biscuit and gravy.
Biscuit and gravy bar.
I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to say tater tots. Give me some tater tots.
I love
good crispy, like a Sonic tater tot, the nice crispy. I'm all about it.
I do love a tater tot. Nice salty taters in my mouth. I'll take them in any form almost.
I could also be convinced with cheese curds. Oh, I just thought about those.
Okay, well, I want that one.
Okay, there you go. All right, cool. Then we've got it made.
All right, what a weird ass Thanksgiving. Biscuits and gravy. Tater tots and cheese curds. This honestly, this sounds like Canada's dream world.
And diabetes.
I'll take it.
You have to eat this meal in order to block yourself up, get yourself nice and constipated, so you can do all your Black Friday shopping without having to worry about going to the bathroom.
Yeah,
it's strategery.
It's a Spartan meal.
Out,
really.
Who goes out for Black Friday shopping?
I know. I just dated us because that's like such a 2004 thing. It doesn't. Kids these days have no idea what it means to go Black Friday shopping anymore.
I mean, why would they? They've got Amazon. They've got fucking TikTok does fucking Black Friday stuff. Who knows?
Fucking kids these days have it so easy.
Get off my fucking yard.
They don't know anything about waiting in line to get into Best Buy
at
to get
3 a.m. when it's negative 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. You know what? Let's kick all kids outside during
elbowing old ladies in the nose for a tickle me Elmo.
Yeah, the fear of death constantly.
Hello and welcome back to BracketALlogy, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. I am your mom's favorite co-host, Scott Grubb.
I am the co-host that your mom wants you to bring home, Matt Robinson.
And I'm the co-host your mom warned you about, Dan Default.
This week, we continue as we determine the best TV mom. We have made it into the, what are we at now?
Supportive 16. However,
supportive 16. Oh,
we're currently at the supportive 17. And I think we need to get it down.
That's true. We have some unfinished business. So this week we're continuing on the left side, the west side of our bracket. If you listen to round one, part one, you know that there's some unfinished business. Hopefully you watched along with us on Twitch while we did a live stream. We had a lingering debate. So before we get into the supportive 16, we got to go back. Chili Healer versus Morticia Addams. I put in the caveat that I needed you guys to see 2 episodes of Bluey because you just had no frame of reference for who Chili Healer is. We have not discussed it since. We just merely watched the episodes and then said we'd carry the discussion on here. So, shall we begin?
Yeah, I think it's important to begin with Scott was very angry on the stream for some reason, but
it was a grumpy day for me.
It was a grumpy day, but we did watch 2 episodes of Bluey. Wasn't weird. 3 grown men watching a children's show from Australia,
which you both laughed at multiple times.
Yeah, I think that the dad was interesting, like, because he'd get hurt and then he'd like someone would throw something at him, or it was just, I don't know. It did make me giggle a couple of times.
I'm not going to lie. It's a fun watch. Kids are not. It's an entertaining watch.
Yeah. So the first episode that we watched was Baby Race.
Baby Race. Mm-hmm.
And then the second one we watched was Weird Space Hypno Trip Dream.
Sleepy Time.
That's it.
Potato. I've heard it both ways. Fever Dream, yeah.
Dan, what did you think?
I mean, look, it is a very cute TV show. I can see the appeal of it, and I think that there were some surprisingly touching moments, especially in the first episode, Baby Race. I love the moral of the story, and I do think that the mom was very supportive while showing a complex, like, you know, if you're raising a child with other moms that have children of similar age and they're all developing at their own speeds, you know, I thought that running your own race was a pretty good lesson for that, and just in life. I also have, you know, an affinity for the Australian accent, so that didn't hurt either.
Well, on that weird note,
are you saying the Australian accent amplified Chili's MILF factor for you?
No. I'm just saying I like listening to the Australian accent. The Alexa,
that's kind of a yes,
in my house has an Australian accent.
Okay.
So Dan wants to fuck his Alexa.
Like
okay.
Is it like is the Australian accent just like the redneck English accent? Is that what it is? Is that why you connect to it so much?
No, the redneck English accent actually came from the English accent.
I know. Shut up. I was trying to make fun of your accent.
But the Australian accent also came from the English accent.
Correct.
So yes, they're cousins.
Which
is something that you rednecks know a lot about.
Oh my God. I hate you both so much. Well, I know who I'm voting for.
All right. Well, I think that for the sake of time, we should get into it. I don't know.
Hold on now. You just asked Dan what he thought about the whole situation. What about anybody else?
Scott, what did you think about the situation?
Hold on. What did you think?
What you said?
Okay,
anybody
I'll go first.
Else?
I mean, you just let Dan go on, and then we made fun of him for a little bit, which is, you know, it happens. But I think that what you see in Chili Healer is a dog the show can sometimes be frustrating because you see Chili and you see the dad as well interacting and behaving with their kids in a way that makes you look and reflect on yourself and go, fuck, I need to be a better parent. Like they set such a high standard and a high bar of what interacting with your kids looks like that it makes real life parents go, I need to do better. And the other thing that Chili Healer does, which I kind of mentioned in the live stream, is
bum scooch.
Validates for parents what the parental experience is. It's not easy for them all the time. It's emotional and it's messy and you don't know what you're doing and you're making it up. And that show and Chili Healer validates that for parents. And I think that's a strong aspect. So anyway, those are my takeaways. The arguments I wanted to make. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was probably necessary for us to watch and at least have an understanding of that entry to the bracket. Just for the sake of, look, this is scientific and this is something we take very seriously here at BracketALlogy, is understanding every team that's on the court at the same time. So
I think there's one other thing that we need to make sure we understand as well, though. We need to remember that we are voting for best TV mom, not most iconic. not longest lasting, not most enduring, best. We're also talking about Morticia Addams. What?
I mean, we were trying to get what Matt thought, and you're just going to poop on Morticia Addams right now.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
I didn't have a whole lot else to say. I just want to get to the vote.
Yeah, it kind of felt like you were like long form wrapping it up, and I said, no, fuck that. I'm going to shit on Morticia Addams, who regularly lets her kids play with dynamite, who in an episode of their show believes that Wednesday has run away from home, realizes she hadn't, and then berates Wednesday until she runs away from home. Great parenting. Let's see. If you watch the stream, you'll know that we had a brief conversation about how I needed to watch a supercut of Morticia Addams. Dan's found one and sent it to me. It contained anti-LGBTQ sentiments. It contained child endangerment. It contained
allegedly
no interactions with her kids. Like, anyway. Okay, Matt, you were trying to wrap us up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and hear your vote, Scott.
I mean, between the two, it's definitely Morticia Addams.
Okay, Dan?
I'm kidding.
No, that's locked in. You already said it. It's locked in.
Yeah, it's Morticia Addams. Matt, what's your vote?
All right, so 1 for Chili Hiller, 1 for Morticia Addams.
No, what's your vote, Matt?
No, Dan has not voted.
I haven't voted yet.
I want you to go before me.
Well, okay. So, Morticia Addams is the supercut that I sent. I did actually watch it. Not the best supercut. And I think that there are a lot of examples of Morticia Addams being a good mom in their own unique way. That said, I hate admitting this, but Scott was right. Chili Healer gets my vote.
All right. Well, then my vote is unimportant and
it's important.
Sad, very much like me. No, that was a joke. Chili Healer moves on. I would have said
no.
Chili
What was your
well.
vote though?
Shut up. Let me finish talking. God damn. Chili Healer probably would have gotten my vote as well. I do think realistically it is one of our listeners at my work described the show Bluey to me as a show about parenting that kids really enjoy. And I think that kind of came across with those episodes. I think it's also, I can understand why it's such a popular TV show, not just because of the characters of Bluey and her sister Domino.
Bingo.
Oh, bingo.
Close.
I was close. I knew it was a game. Not just because of them, but because of the parents and what they bring to it as well. I also, and this just may be me, but I truly believe that, and I don't have my own kids. I've been in kids' lives, but don't have any of my own. I do think that the way to parent is, especially when they're really young, is to talk to them like they're people, like regular humans. And that felt like that's what the Healers did, which I kind of appreciated. So yeah, would have gone with Chili Healer. End of time ripple.
All right. We are on to the round 2 of the West Side. Where are we starting off? We just working our way top to bottom
16.
again?
Let's go bottom to top.
Oh, okay. Dan likes the bottom.
Drop it like it's hot.
Yeah.
All right. So what's our first matchup?
First matchup is a tale of two very different moms with Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek versus Dee Dee Pickles from Rugrats.
Is their last name Shit in that show? Is it really?
Well, no. They live in a place that's called Schitt's Creek. Yeah. Their last name is Rose.
As you could tell by the name on the bracket. I was so confused when you asked that question. I was like, what do you mean? It's right there.
Here's what I'll say about this matchup. Dee Dee Pickles actually kind of reminded me of that episode of Bluey that we watched. It's Your Own Race or whatever it was called. because the way the children in that show, I believe one of them's name is Bluey, looked up at her mom, the love that you could sense there reminded me a lot of Tommy Pickles looking up at his mom whenever his mom would come pick him up. I don't know if you remember that from the show, but Tommy
I do
loved
remember
his
that.
mom.
Look, Rugrats is one of those. I was so confused when you started that entire thing because I thought you were saying there was a character in Rugrats named Bluey, and I was like, no. I do remember Rugrats. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid, like in terms of those cartoons. And you're absolutely right. Like that is a constant thing. Is when Tommy gets picked up from Chucky's house, or she comes home from something and picks him up out of the playpen, like that admiration, that love, even just in the introduction, the intro of Rugrats has that moment in it in every single
that
episode.
first person.
Yep.
Uppies.
Pretty much. Although he couldn't talk,
Yeah.
But he does have a screwdriver in his diaper.
Don't we all?
Now, Moira Rose, I know little about.
I call it Philip.
Gross.
Philip's head?
No. I understand the
yeah,
joke.
but I just wanted to say Philip's head.
Yeah, but that means that you have like a cross head. Anyway, better than flathead, I guess.
Yeah.
Moira Rose is, I don't know a whole lot about her. I don't know. You guys inform me.
I mean, how do you feel she stacks up, Dan?
Well, so Moira...
Which is a fun name, by the way. I do like the name Moira.
I love her character, but she's not a very hands-on parent. They were a very wealthy family that ran into some really bad luck, and it becomes very clear that they are not very self-sufficient. And Moira kind of embodies that a lot. But there are some very heartwarming interactions between her and her two kids where she genuinely supports them in their endeavors and tries in her own way to help her kids out. And I think that, that speaks to it, because even though she has a very big ego and is kind of full of herself, she's willing to do what she can.
It's okay. Scott, do you have...
I think you guys make some decent points, but I think there's a specific aspect about one of these two characters that we've touched on, but I don't feel like we've given it enough due. In Rugrats, Tommy and Chucky and Phil and Lil, the whole gang, they're almost always at the Pickles house.
Yeah.
Or with the Pickles parents, right? They're usually the ones in charge. Not always, but usually. And those kids face peril all the time.
Yeah.
Like the very first episode, which I watched recently again, they get left in like a toy store, like after close overnight. Now, granted, I'm not holding that against Dee Dee because she wasn't there. It was the dad. It was Stu for that one. But still, that's just an example of the type of situation these babies would get themselves into. And I'm not holding them accountable for that either because they're babies.
I just don't.
But the Pickles parents need to be held somewhat accountable for being totally inattentive to the children that they are being put in charge of.
I think that we need to give a little bit of leeway to the Pickles because it was the 90s, right?
Look,
this was pre-Columbine. This was pre 9/11, right? You didn't have to worry about your kids getting lured into a van in the same way with candy, right? If you left them at a toy store, they're
when did John Wayne Gacy? When was he a birthday clown?
That's irrelevant. The fact
Those
is,
things were real. We just didn't have the internet to tell us about them all the time.
Your perfectly valid counterpoint to my point is completely irrelevant.
But truly, realistically, we all grew up in the 90s, right? Like we were. It's not like we're saying that our parents left us in a mall when we were 1 year old, but we did get a lot more freedom and leeway away from our parents when we were kids.
Yeah, but giving a parent freedom and leeway because parenting is hard is like, oops, my child swallowed a marble and now I have to dig through poop for 3 days to make sure it comes out. Not, I left my kid in the toy store overnight.
That would have been a dream of mine when I was a kid.
Well, and that's why it makes
Eating
a good
marble?
episode. And here's another just thought exercise. I don't know
Sounds exhausting.
I don't know how literal we take those stories in particular, because all of them are from Tommy's perspective and the kid's imagination. They might have felt like they were left in the toy store overnight, but it really could have just been like 5 minutes, and that was where their imagination took them. You know what I mean?
We watch the events of what's going on. Like, yeah, it's amplified through Tommy's imagination. He thinks the inflatable clown thing is real, and it's not. But we watch the timeline of events. We see how long he's there. Long enough for Stu and Chucky's dad, whose name escapes me, Charles, to leave the store, get in the car, drive all the way home, get the kids inside before they realize it, then drive all the way back. Like, it's not a short period of time.
Yeah.
No, but it happens. So I'm just gonna throw out. Look, don't hold any of the pickles. I'm moving Dee Dee on. I want extra pickles.
Scott, you go.
Stop avoiding it.
I'm still thinking.
I don't know that much about Moira Rose, to be honest. Like, the one clip I've seen of Schitt's Creek that's standing out in my head is when she's yelling at him to fold the stuff fold it in. And they're like arguing
what is folding?
Folding. Yeah. That's all I really know.
Oh, fold in the cheese. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I mean, I probably would still say Dee Dee Pickles too.
Okay. Dee Dee Pickles moves on.
Dee Dee Pickles does move on, but
what was your vote, Dean?
Yeah, who were you going to say?
I mean, look, I love the character of Moira Rose, and to your point, Scott, I do think that the Pickles left their children unattended for way too long. But I also know that they had Dr. Lipschitz books that she read ferociously, and I also know that when Tommy looked at his mom, the love that you can feel as the audience looking at her through his perspective means that he felt safe. And I think that is a big part of being a mom. And I don't think Moira gave that same sense of safety to her kids.
All right. Well, since we're already like 20 something minutes into the show and we've gotten through one of the 4 matchups, let's go ahead and move on to our next matchup. Kitty Foreman versus Harriet Winslow.
Oof. Fuck, this is tough.
I don't think this one's that tough for me, personally.
No, me neither.
As much as I love the Winslows and I love Family Matters, I think that it was a great show. I think it had a lot of really good opportunities for good moms. And I do think that kind of became a trope in a lot of ways, is the dad will be the angry, overreacting one to things. And then the mom comes in like 80s and 90s shows and has to be like, look, this is how it is, but we're still friends. And I think she does that. But Kitty Foreman's fucking cool. Like, I would want her as a mom. I would have to sleep with earplugs in, most likely.
Yeah, but I agree. I think Kitty Foreman is a standout in this one.
But are you guys taking into consideration that those kids were often, very often, hanging out in her basement, smoking lots of pot?
Great mother.
She provided them a safe space and snacks.
They weren't out
true.
driving while they were doing it most of the time.
Except for in the intro of every single episode.
Literally every single episode.
There's no proof that that's what they're doing.
That's fair.
And I mean, there was the time that Hyde moved in and, didn't tell anybody and he was just living there. And then Jackie moved in with Hyde. They were, Kitty, for the most part, was very loose. Red was the authoritative figure in that household. Kitty was very, I don't know.
Laissez-faire?
But I think that that's to a point. But I think that one thing that Kitty does is tempers Red throughout that show. Like she's
a balance.
Yeah, she's the balance for that. And it provides the kids with, to Scott's point, whether it was, fucking around or not, does provide a safe space and does provide, a group of friends to come over and actually have a place to go when they're in need. The reason that
I never fuck around with my points.
Hey, the reason that Hyde moved in is because he knew that it was a safe space to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very much because of Kitty Foreman.
She created a home for many, not just her own.
The home for the wayward, some may say.
You could say the same thing about literally everything you all said. You could say for Harriet.
No, because Urkel was intrusive. He was not welcome.
At least for the first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And then once Stefan Urkel comes in, then Mrs. Winslow got a little excited to have him over, but outside of that.
Mrs. Winslow didn't really have much of a choice. Urkel was coming in one way or another. If Kitty doesn't want you in the house, she's going to let you know. There are definitely scenes in that show where Kitty, her claws come out. Let's be honest.
Yeah, she
Nice
claps
point.
back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she has a ferocious side, which bumps up that MILF factor.
So I think I'm gonna vote Kitty Foreman forward.
Me too,
Scott. All right, Dan. What are your thoughts?
Look, it doesn't matter what my thoughts are, but I'm going to go with Harriet Winslow. I think she just provided a more safe environment for her children and Urkel to grow up and be supportive. That's not taking away from Kitty. Look, I loved her character, and I do think that she provided them with a safe environment to explore those wild teenage years.
Harriet Winslow had a child go missing and never even acknowledged it.
That is story writing, dog. That had nothing to do with her character. That was just an executive making a decision.
Did y'all have either way? Kitty Foreman moves on, but just a quick sidebar. Did y'all have that safe place to go to when you were a early teen into your teenage years, where I had a friend where we could go over, we could hang out, stay up all night, have a few drinks, etc. And my parents were okay with it because they knew that it was a safe place for us as kids.
Yeah, man. My buddy Gil's house. Spent a ton of time there.
Yeah.
There were probably a couple summers where I was there at his house more than I was at my own.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. So this is adding on to the sidebar. It was my buddy Alan's house. And I think I might have told y'all this at some point, but in 2004, 2005, somewhere around there, Colorado had a huge snowstorm, an absurdly large snowstorm. They closed schools down. It was also in March or April.
That tracks for weather here.
They closed the schools down for an entire week. It was the week before spring break. And I walked, 5+ miles to my friend Alan's house as a place to go to do something and not have to worry about shit. So anyway, back to the show.
Up next, we have Chili Healer from Bluey versus Claire Dunphy from Modern Family.
Correct.
Don't know why. I just lost confidence in that at the start of the word. So yeah.
All right.
What do we think? I'm relatively familiar with Claire Dunphy.
I think that, so we've talked a bit about Chili Healer already in this episode, but Claire is most of the time the most normal adult in that show. It's a goofy show, right? It's mockumentary style. They follow this family around and all of the different like siblings and their families. Not always is Claire the most reasonable, but she generally is looked at as kind of the most normal person. And she has blow-ups, right? It's not like it's not like she's a perfect mom by any means. It's not like she's a perfect human, but she's a very well-written character for a mother in a modern sitcom. And I think that speaks a lot, especially to when you think about the surrounding people, the other characters that are around her all the time. She keeps pretty much everything moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, Phil is insane and does all kinds of weird shit. The kids are all crazy in their own rights. Her dad's married to someone 48 years younger than him. Her brother is in the midst of getting married and adopting a child at the beginning of the show, and it is very difficult, obviously. I think that Claire has a lot of weight on her side because of, even in a hectic, chaotic, crazy environment, she can still be the mother figure for everybody that's in the show.
I think that this does bring up like a pretty important question to me. Claire has had to deal with a lot more than Chili Healer. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say, because Chili has 2 kids, and her husband to help raise them. They are not that old. They aren't going through the complexities of like young adulthood, and they don't have the crazy, side characters that are heavily involved like Claire does. Does that count? For all we know, Claire could have been just as like kind and supportive.
Well, they do show
when her kids were young.
They do show some flashbacks to when the kids are pretty young in Modern Family, if I remember correctly. And I do think that she is very, motherly, very loving, doting on her children. And then as they get older, because it's a different setting altogether, to your point.
Yeah.
Young adolescence into teenagerhood, into young adulthood versus have Bluey or Bingo. Have they grown up at all in the show?
The season finale of the last season did a flash forward where they were shown in their like 20s or something like that, in the age where they were coming back home for a holiday.
How does the motherly interaction work in that? Is it just too short to really see?
No, the entire interaction of the kids returning home for the holiday is basically basically like a Hallmark card meets what is that guy's name that does all the quaint Southern paintings? Anyway,
Bob
it's
Ross.
basically a Hallmark card being acted out. Like it's as picturesque and as perfect as you would hope it would be.
To Dan's point, that does make me wonder how many hard times she's had to go through. Because let's be real, in all relationships, parent and children relationships, there's going to be tension. There's going to be something that comes up where you have to have, difficult conversations, etc. And maybe this just goes back to my lack of knowledge associated with it, with the healers. I'd much rather have a show about that wiener dog mom.
You and your weird attraction to wieners, man.
It was very cute, and I look. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
I mean, I get what you're saying, right? Claire maybe has had more obstacles thrown at her, which has tested her motherhood to some degree. And we just haven't seen that with Chili. Who knows, what they go through.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. The thing I always find funny with shows like Modern Family, and there's so many shows that are guilty of it, and it makes sense as to why, but it reminds me of shows like Grey's Anatomy, for example. That's the quintessential one, where I find them kind of funny because it's like, there's no way that this much shit happens to this one group of people, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you think about the hospital that is in Grey's Anatomy, nobody would ever fucking go to that hospital, because the stories of what happens and takes place in there on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis would get out, and everyone would be convinced that hospital is cursed. Did you hear what happened this week? Yeah, their RN got ran over by a bus. Did you hear what happened last week? Yeah, there was a guy who got wheeled in with a bomb in his chest, and it blew. Like, that shit is it's just so over the top that it's like, there's so many shows that fall into this trap, and I think Modern Family is one of them. Like, no one family is going to have all the shit happen to them that this family does, but it's a TV mom, and she did, and so I don't know. There's something to be considered there.
I mean, you also have to take into consideration if they were writing the show to be as mundane as real life is, nobody would watch it.
Yeah, but I think that's where, and again, I take into consideration the TV mom aspect of it. I think that's where Chili Healer gets a bit of an advantage to that point, though, is because it is so short form and being only 7 minutes, and it's kid focused. So you get the entertainment factor there. When there are obstacles thrown at Chili,
like a bucket,
they're more realistic to what? They're more realistic to the viewer's day to day, right? I can identify more with a parent looking at a kid on a swing, seeing their baby has grown up and feeling those feels than I can the fear of, will this bomb go off if I cut the wrong aorta or whatever,
There's only, never mind.
I know. And I also went back to Grey's Anatomy instead of talking about Modern Family, but I haven't seen enough Modern Family to reference it. So, but it makes Chili Healer's obstacles more relevant, I feel like.
Yeah, but they are solved in 7 minutes, so the complexity level is not.
Yeah, but in the grand scheme of life, what's the difference between 7 minutes and 22 minutes?
But there definitely are storylines about Claire that take an entire like seasonal arc.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I think there's another. I don't know. What's your vote, Scott?
Honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I would rather hear yours.
I mean, I think, all right. So I think for me, one of the more impressive parts about Claire Dunphy in Modern Family is her arc over the course of the show, because she starts as just kind of a mom, but then you start to learn more about her and how her mom wasn't really around when she was growing up, and it was really on her dad to take care of her. And then when, she had to take care of her brother a little bit. And then when he came out of the closet, that was something they had to work through together. Right. And she was always kind of there. And then once you get into the later seasons, not only is she a mom, not only is she somebody that's overcome a ton to be able to get to that, she also then takes over and owns the closets business with her dad. Like, she becomes basically a CEO and a mom of 3 children, worrying about a ridiculously smart one who she's afraid can't cut, with regular scissors anymore, and then a third one who wants to be exactly like his dad. So, I mean, I think to me, I think the effort and the growth put into Claire Dunphy as a character outweighs the simplicity and, motherly aspect, singular motherly aspect of Chili Healer that I'm aware of. So I think I'm going to go with Claire for this one.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think if there was one like knock on Claire, it's that she can get a little heated because she has this need to control things. But I think that is a reflection of her experience growing up. And I think that the show does a good job kind of explaining that, right? Her experiences with, being raised by a single parent and having to help raise a brother and all those additional things makes sense as to why she wants to control things, and it's always for the best interests of her family.
I mean, and I think it's important that we say that just, having that OCD level of control isn't a reason to just not appreciate somebody. We do let Scott on the show.
Yeah.
So,
but I agree, Claire. I think the obstacles that she has overcome and the family that she's raised through that, all those difficulties reflect well on her ability to raise children and to set a good example and to provide a loving and trusting environment.
All right, Scott?
I think you guys are fucking idiots. That's got nothing to do with this, though. I agree, Claire Dunphy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Claire definitely has a wider reach. So Claire moves on. Chili Healer. Wow, it's hard for me to say that too. Chili Healer. Chili Healer. Moved on to the second round. Got to that supportive 16.
I told you this wasn't another SpongeBob scenario. I wasn't that invested. I just knew you didn't know what you were talking about, and you were going to make a bad choice in the first round.
So that
it was for the sake of the credibility of the podcast.
Yes, the thing we worry about the most.
Objectivity.
Lastly,
takes to our last matchup. What is it, Dan?
It is Reba Hart from the show Reba, and then Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls.
Let me just get real close there so I can see
I had to squint. A, I'm working off a laptop, but B, I'm not familiar with Gilmore Girls enough to be able to make a judgment, so I'm going to need you two chuckle fucks to sway my vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this one at least, I think this one is... Honestly, I think everything's kind of been kind of easy at this point, but to me, this one's really, really easy. And I can be convinced the other direction potentially, but I just don't see how Reba Hart is able to beat Lorelai Gilmore in this. Like, she is the mom. Like, millions of people watched and still watch the Gilmore Girls, and it is very much a staple for a lot of people. And what I've seen, Lorelai, while she does make mistakes and sometimes does have a tendency to be overprotective because she is a single mother, is a good mom. I'm not saying Reba Hart's a bad mom, but I don't know. I feel like if you put these two boxes of moms up in front of me,
there's always got to be a throwback reference in every bracket. But what discredits Reba for you?
I don't think that it discredits her. I just don't think she gets enough credit. Like, I don't think she has the credit available.
You're the one denying her credit right now.
Yeah, because her credit's shit. That's not true.
I think she's had like some really good moral stances throughout her show.
Sure. I don't want to take away from how good she is. I just don't think that she's like holds a candle to Lorelai Gilmore. Like, and maybe it's very much I don't know, maybe it's proximity bias. Maybe it's recency bias. Like, I've definitely watched episodes of the Gilmore Girls way more recently than I have episodes of Reba. Like, the biggest things that I remember of Reba is her daughter being pregnant and then having a kid, and Reba hating her son-in-law.
Because he's an idiot.
Yeah, he was kind of a shitbag.
I mean, he didn't like rob people and sell crack on the corner. Like, he was just an idiot. Like, he didn't deserve to be degraded every time he was over at the house.
To be fair, he didn't understand that was happening to him. She did it in such a way.
And I think that you're overlooking how supportive she was to help her daughter who got pregnant in a van.
Him, because doesn't she take him in?
Yes, and how much she gave to make sure that baby had a healthy, stable home, which it clearly was not going to happen without her help.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, and I'm not trying to take away from Reba here.
Some would say she helped raise her son-in-law, helped him grow up some too.
Sure,
yeah, a mother to all.
But you could say, I'm not going to say that Lorelai was the mom of the entire town in Gilmore Girls, but she was known and she did influence others and, help people out. And I don't know, she's cuter.
Hey, we put that on the table in round 1 as a potential factor. If you want to play that card, you're welcome to play it.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out there that one of the biggest gripes that I have, though, is I cannot stand the way that Lorelai Gilmore talks. And to that point, her daughter neither. It's terrible. The conversation between the two of them is not realistic at all. They do not pause. They do not breathe. It is just and it's such an unrealistic conversation between two people. And I know that's how it's written, and I know I shouldn't hold it against them, but it's
poor writing. It's
garbage. It's
I don't
so
think
bad.
It's poor writing. I think that's just the direction of the show. Like they do it
so
with
annoying.
all of the characters in a lot of ways.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Like the pacing in that show is so non-conversational. It's so not realistic.
Yeah, it's almost like trying to be too witty at all times.
Yes,
everybody's got something to say back. But when
everyone has a witticism, and no one needs a second to think about them.
Yeah, but I do think that there are parts of Gilmore Girls where it does slow down a little bit, and there are legitimate moments within that cause and create, I don't know, like those special connections that the audience can then have with the person that is the main character, basically, Lorelai.
When the meaningful violin music starts to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know none of it has to do with her being a mom or not. I just really wanted to rag on Gilmore Girls for that for a moment because it's so distracting and terrible.
Single mom, trying to date, trying to, live, trying to help the community grow.
So you want to swipe right on Lorelai Gilmore.
But she also, she also raises her daughter to be incredibly intelligent and incredibly bright and go on to college and live life. I don't know. I think for me, again, Lorelai Gilmore is my vote.
Dufa?
I mean, this is 100% just because I don't know anything about Gilmore or Gilmore Girls, but I do know Reba. I'm going to go with Reba.
I think Reba's more familiar for you and I because she has that Southern way of raising a kid that we're probably more familiar with. But I'm still going to actually probably have to agree with Matt and say Lorelai Gilmore in the long run.
Yeah. Again, nothing against Reba.
No.
Other than maybe Dan. But that takes us through the first half of the second round.
I voted for Reba. I'm not against it. Okay.
Oh, I thought he meant physically. Like
I did.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You're bumping and grinding on Reba is what he was talking about.
Holding you against her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, Reba. And we know you're listening.
Next week, join us as we complete round 2, part 2. We'll hit the east side of the bracket. Matt, what matchup from the east side of the bracket next week are you looking forward to discussing?
I think that the biggest one, the main event of next week is Vivian Banks versus Joyce Byers.
I think that is going to be a fun and difficult conversation.
We'll look forward to it next week. As usual, we want to thank you this week for listening along. Please take a moment to interact with us on most of the socials. You can find us on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube. We are no longer on X. Fuck that platform. We switched over to Blue Sky. You can find us on there. All of those at BracketALlogy, BracketALlogy. What else we got?
Scott's handle is at BracketALlogy Scott. Mine is at BracketALlogy Matt. And Dan's is under construction.
He still hasn't figured out all the buttons yet.
That's correct. I need my bifocals.
He's got to get my eyes.
Gotta get my readers.
Yeah, we want to thank Aaron O'Donnell from Aaron O'Donnell Music on YouTube for our opening and closing ceremonies. And then, in addition to that, hey guys.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm Matt.
Whoa. Nope. Don't like change. Not thankful for that. As usual, I've been your mom's favorite co-host, Scott.
I've been the co-host your mom wants you to bring home and leave outside in the rain, Matt.
And I'm the co-host your mom warned you about. I'm Dan.
Bye-bye.